Ladies and gentlemen, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the soil in which success is grown. Every defeat carries within it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity, and the person who understands this truth has already stepped onto the path of victory. Failure is often misunderstood as an enemy, yet within every failure lies a hidden advantage waiting to be discovered by the person who is willing to look beyond disappointment. When defeat arrives, it does not come empty-handed. It brings with it lessons, insights, and new directions that were invisible before the fall. Most people see only loss, but those who think deeply recognize that failure rearranges the path, forcing the mind to search for better methods and stronger approaches. It breaks habits that no longer serve progress and exposes weaknesses that must be corrected in order to grow. The individual who accepts failure as a teacher, rather than a punishment, gains knowledge that success alone could never provide. A closed door often redirects effort toward an open window that was previously ignored, and in that redirection lies opportunity. Every setback carries information. It reveals what does not work and pushes the thinker to imagine what might work instead. This process awakens creativity because necessity always demands an invention. When a plan collapses, the mind is compelled to design a new one, and in doing so, it often discovers a more powerful strategy than the original. The person who refuses to quit transforms failure into a laboratory of experience where ideas are tested, adjusted, and improved. In this way, failure becomes a stepping stone rather than a stopping point. Those who treat failure as final remain stuck, but those who treat it as temporary remain in motion. Opportunity is rarely obvious at the moment of defeat. It is usually disguised as loss, embarrassment, or delay. The crowd withdraws, but the disciplined thinker studies the situation with calm attention. By asking what can be learned and what can be done differently, the mind begins to reshape circumstances into advantages. A failed attempt sharpens judgment, strengthens will, and builds endurance. It teaches patience and discipline, two qualities without which lasting success cannot exist. The experience of falling also deepens appreciation for rising, giving meaning to effort and value to progress. History shows that great achievements often grew out of repeated disappointments. The path to victory is not a straight line, but a series of corrections guided by past errors. Each correction brings a person closer to the right method, the right time, and the right action. Failure clears away illusions of ease and replaces them with respect for preparation. It removes false confidence and replaces it with earned belief. In this sense, failure is a filter that separates casual wishers from determined doers. Only those who persist long enough uncover the opportunity hidden inside defeat. The mind that searches for opportunity in failure develops a powerful habit of thought. Instead of reacting with anger or despair, it responds with analysis and purpose. This habit changes the meaning of struggle, turning obstacles into signals and problems into invitations to think. With every experience of loss, awareness grows sharper and vision becomes clearer. The person who trains themselves to look for advantage in disappointment gains control over their emotional reactions and learns to direct energy toward improvement. Through this practice, failure becomes a form of guidance, pointing toward better choices and stronger decisions. It reshapes character, strengthens resolve, and creates the foundation upon which greater achievement can be built. Success begins in the mind long before it appears in visible form. Every achievement, no matter how great, first existed as a thought shaped by belief and imagination. The mind is the workshop where plans are designed and decisions are born, and whatever is consistently held in thought eventually seeks expression through action. A person cannot rise higher than the pictured thing they carry of themselves, because behavior always follows belief. When the mind is filled with doubt, effort becomes weak and direction becomes uncertain. When the mind is filled with confidence and purpose, actions take on strength and persistence. Circumstances do not create the individual. The individual's interpretation of circumstances creates their response, and that response determines the result. Thoughts act as invisible forces guiding daily choices. A person who thinks in terms of limitation will unconsciously avoid opportunity, while a person who thinks in terms of possibility will naturally look for ways forward. The difference between these two states is not intelligence or luck, but mental attitude. The mind accepts what it repeatedly hears and believes, whether true or false, and then works to make it real. If a person constantly tells themselves they cannot succeed, the mind will search for reasons to prove that belief correct. If a person repeatedly affirms that progress is possible, the mind will begin to notice paths that were previously ignored. In this way, thought becomes the blueprint of experience. Imagination plays a central role in shaping success because it allows the mind to rehearse outcomes before they appear. By holding a clear picture of achievement, the individual trains the mind to expect progress rather than defeat. This expectation influences effect, or increasing willingness to try again after failure and to persist through difficulty. The mind that is trained to focus on solutions instead of problems gains control over fear because fear thrives where uncertainty dominates. When the mind is disciplined, fear loses its power and action replaces hesitation. Confidence is not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of belief that difficulty can be overcome. The condition of the mind also determines how failure is interpreted. To an undisciplined mind, failure means finality. To a disciplined mind, failure means adjustment. This difference changes everything. A person who believes success is possible will study mistakes instead of surrendering to them. They will refine their methods and strengthen their resolve. In doing so, they transform experience into wisdom and effort into progress. The mind that accepts responsibility for its own thoughts becomes free from dependence on external approval or conditions. It draws strength from inner direction rather than outer circumstances. Success is therefore not an accident, but a mental construction supported by consistent action. Clear purpose gives the mind a target, and belief supplies the energy needed to move toward it. Without purpose, the mind drifts and effort becomes scattered. Without belief, the mind hesitates and effort becomes weak. When purpose and belief are united, the mind becomes focused and the individual becomes decisive. This union creates momentum that carries a person through discouragement and delay. As the mind grows stronger, habits change, and as habits change, results change. The person who learns to master their thoughts gains the ability to influence their future, shaping conditions instead of being shaped by them. Persistence is the force that transforms temporary defeat into lasting achievement. It is not mere stubbornness, but a steady commitment to continue despite obstacles, delays, and discouragement. When a person encounters failure, the natural impulse is to retreat, yet progress belongs to those who remain in motion. Persistence keeps the mind focused when emotions urge surrender. It sustains effort when results are slow and confidence is tested. Without persistence, even the best plans collapse under pressure, and even strong desire fades at the first sign of resistance. With persistence, mistakes become lessons and setbacks become signals to adjust rather than abandon the journey. Temporary defeat differs from permanent failure in only one respect: the decision to quit. Many individuals stop just short of discovering the method that would have worked because discouragement convinces them that further effort is useless. Yet each attempt adds experience, and each experience refines judgment. Persistence allows me for understanding to mature and for strategies to improve. It gives the individual space to develop skill and confidence through repeated effort. The person who persists gains something more valuable than immediate success, which is endurance. Endurance strengthens the will and prepares the mind for larger challenges ahead. Persistence also disciplines desire. A weak desire disappears when difficulty appears, but a strong desire grows stronger through resistance. When a person continues after failure, they prove to themselves that their purpose is more than a wish. This proof builds inner certainty, and inner certainty produces outward action. In this way, persistence shapes character as much as it shapes results. It trains the mind to stay committed when conditions are uncertain and outcomes are delayed. Over time, this habit of continued effort becomes a natural response to challenge rather than an act of strain. There is a point in every effort where fatigue meets doubt. At this point, the mind seeks comfort, and the body seeks rest, and the temptation to stop becomes strong. Persistence is the choice to move forward at that moment instead of retreating. This choice separates those who merely attempt from those who achieve. Often, success lies just beyond the moment of greatest discouragement, because that is where most people turn back. The individual who continues for war passes the place of fear and enters the place of opportunity. Persistence works quietly and gradually. It does not demand attention, yet it steadily accumulates power. Each small effort adds to the total strength of resolve. Each day of continued action reinforces belief in the possibility of success. Through repetition, the mind becomes accustomed to effort, and resistance loses its power to intimidate. In time, what once seemed impossible becomes manageable, and what once seemed distant becomes near. The person who persists long enough develops faith in their own capacity to continue, regardless of conditions. The world often rewards persistence more than talent. Talent may begin the journey, but persistence finishes it. Many capable individuals fail because they surrender too soon, while others with ordinary ability succeed because they refuse to stop. Persistence bridges the distance between intention and accomplishment. It converts ideas into reality through steady application. By remaining active in the face of difficulty, a person keeps opportunity alive and allows progress to unfold. The habit of persistence gradually replaces fear with courage and doubt with determination, creating a path from defeat to achievement through continuous effort. Fear and doubt are the most common obstacles standing between a person and meaningful achievement. They operate quietly within mind, shaping decisions before action ever begins. Fear warns of possible loss, while doubt questions personal ability. Together, they weaken initiative and delay effort. A person may possess skill, opportunity, and desire, yet remain inactive because fear magnifies risk and doubt minimizes potential. These emotions do not appear as enemies, but as protectors, pretending to offer safety while actually preventing growth. When fear and doubt are left unchallenged, they become habits of thought that limit what the mind believes is possible. Fear thrives on imagination without direction. It paints pictures of failure and rejection, convincing the individual that action will lead to pain. Doubt feeds on comparison, measuring personal ability against the achievements of others and concluding that progress is unlikely. Both operate by shifting attention away from purpose and toward consequence. Instead of asking what can be gained, the mind asks what might be lost. This shift paralyzes effort and encourages delay. Delay then reinforces fear, creating a cycle where inaction becomes proof that action is dangerous. To move forward, fear and doubt must be confronted through understanding and practice. They cannot be removed by wishing, but they can be weakened by repeated action. Each time a person steps forward, despite uncertainty, fear loses a portion of its authority. Each small success reduces doubt and increases confidence. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act while fear is present. Through this process, the mind learns that discomfort does not equal danger and that failure does not equal destruction. Experience replaces assumption, and reality replaces imagination. Doubt often disguises itself as reason. It presents itself as logic, urging caution and delay. While careful thought has value, excessive doubt prevents decision and stalls progress. The person who listens only to doubt waits for perfect conditions, and perfect conditions rarely appear. Growth requires movement, and movement requires belief in the possibility of improvement. When belief weakens, effort weakens, results confirm doubt. This cycle can only be broken by choosing belief before evidence and action before assurance. Fear of criticism is one of the strongest forms of fear. The opinions of others appear powerful because they threaten acceptance and belonging. Yet progress requires independence of thought. Those who advance must accept that misunderstanding and resistance are part of growth. The individual who seeks universal approval sacrifices direction for comfort. When attention shifts from pleasing others to fulfilling purpose, confidence grows stronger and fear of judgment loses its hold. Doubt in one's own ability is often an hairier end. From past failure, a mistake becomes a memory, and memory becomes a belief. This belief then governs future effort, convincing the mind that repetition will bring the same result. Yet no experience is repeated in exactly the same way. Each attempt occurs with greater knowledge and deeper awareness. By viewing past errors as instruction rather than identity, the mind frees itself from the weight of earlier outcomes. Fear and doubt shrink when purpose becomes clear. A strong purpose organizes thought and directs energy forward. It gives the mind a reason to endure discomfort and a reason to challenge hesitation. When purpose dominates attention, fear becomes secondary and doubt becomes temporary. The individual begins to measure actions by alignment with purpose rather than by comfort. Through this shift, emotional resistance is replaced by intentional effort, and the path forward becomes defined by decision rather than hesitation. Purpose is the force that gives meaning to effort and direction to action. Without purpose, energy becomes scattered and movement becomes random. A person may work hard yet feel lost because effort is not guided by a clear aim. Purpose gathers thought, desire, and activity into a single direction, creating focus where confusion once existed. When the mind knows what it seeks, it organizes behavior around that objective. Time is used with intention instead of habit, and choices are made with awareness instead of impulse. In this way, purpose transforms activity into progress. Effort without purpose is often driven by pressure or imitation. People follow routines simply because others do or because circumstances demand it. This kind of effort feels heavy and unrewarding because it lacks inner motivation. Purpose replaces pressure with intention. It turns obligation into choice and routine into strategy. The individual who acts with purpose understands why each step is taken, which strengthens commitment during difficulty. When obstacles appear, purpose reminds the mind of the reason for continuing, preventing discouragement from turning into surrender. Purpose also clarifies priorities. When direction is absent, everything appears equally important, and energy is wasted on tasks that do not contribute to growth. With purpose, the mind learns to distinguish between what matters and what distracts. Decisions become simpler because they are measured against a guiding aim. This reduces hesitation and increases confidence. Instead of reacting to every demand, the individual chooses actions that support long-term direction. Over time, this habit creates consistency, and consistency builds momentum. Effort guided by purpose develops discipline. Discipline is not forced restraint, but controlled movement toward a chosen end. When a person knows what they are working toward, self-control becomes easier because each sacrifice is connected to a meaningful outcome. Small daily actions gain significance when they are linked to a larger vision. This connection strengthens patience and reduces frustration. Progress may appear slow, but it feels worthwhile because it serves a defined direction. Purpose also strengthens resilience. Challenges feel different when they are understood as part of a journey rather than as isolated burdens. Difficulty becomes a test of commitment instead of a signal to retreat. The mind interprets struggle as preparation rather than punishment. This interpretation changes emotional response, replacing bitterness with determination. The individual who knows their purpose is less likely to be distracted by temporary discomfort because attention remains fixed on long-term meaning. Direction gives effort a sense of identity. A person without purpose borrows identity from circumstances, reacting to events instead of shaping them. A person with purpose develops an inner standard, measuring success by progress toward their aim rather than by external approval. This independence strengthens confidence and reduces dependence on praise or fear of criticism. The mind becomes anchored in intention instead of opinion. Purpose also influences how failure is understood. When effort has no direction, failure feels like wasted time. When effort is guided by purpose, failure becomes feedback. It reveals which methods do not serve the goal and encourages adjustment rather than abandonment. The individual remains engaged because the destination remains unchanged, even when the path must be altered. This keeps effort alive and transforms mistakes into guidance. A clear purpose unites thought and action. Thought provides vision, and action provides expression. When these two are aligned, effort becomes organized and meaningful. The person no longer moves aimlessly, but advances with awareness. Each step, no matter how small, contributes to a larger design. Through this alignment, work gains value, struggle gains context, and time gains direction, shaping effort into a deliberate path guided by intention rather than chance.